Question 1. Okay. So I'm going to argue the counter-argument, which is, albeit a little tough, that sexual democracy should not be the basis for citizenship. Okay, so first we're going to look at the definition of sexual democracy and sexual freedom. So sexual freedom, to kind of just give an overview, is the freedom of sexual expression prescribed by tradition and law. And traditionally, this freedom is taken for granted. We can usually marry who we want. We can typically express our sexuality without fear. And kind of sexual democracy takes a different turn on that. It's the extension of civil rights to those who do not conform to a heterosexual normality. And as Nikki said, it's sexual freedom and equality between the sexes, also known as just sexual democracy, as talked about in Gin. So my argument is that sexual democracy is not necessary as the basis for citizenship. So a few of these examples are in Germany and France, and as part of their immigration exams, they require foreigners coming into the country to answer questions on their beliefs towards sexual democracy. And some of these questions are, for example, what do you think of the following statement? A woman should obey her husband who could otherwise beat her up. How would you feel about an openly gay politician? And how would you feel if your son came home and decided to live with another man? So they were trying to gauge sexual democracy, but as we see, they kind of use these answers to target Muslims who are traditionally homophobic and use them as a way to exclude them from entering their country on the basis that they are homophobic without acknowledging the country's xenophobia towards them. So I would argue that sexual democracy should not be the basis for citizenship because it kind of is not used in the way it should be, and they're not trying to be accepting for people of different sexualities, but rather they're using it as a way to attack people who don't agree with them and blame it as something else. So Germany is rather like France, not broadly sexual, but rather a narrowly heterosexual democracy that will not recognize equal rights for gay and straight citizens. So the counter argument for this is the Netherlands, a thriving country who is openly, gay and very sexual, and as part of their civic integration examination, they require citizens to watch a DVD called Coming to the Netherlands, in which, as Nikki said, they express very sexual images to kind of show people coming to their country what they are to expect and what is to be expected of them, and show a view of very tolerant people. So, for example, these two men kissing or topless women on beaches. It's gotten a lot of pushback because it is very sexualized, the film that is shown. But homosexuality is part and parcel of the rhetoric of sexual democracy. After all, this is the country that first accepted same-sex marriage in 2001. So this would kind of go against my argument and say that sexual democracy should be the basis for citizenship because, as we see in the Netherlands, it's a very thriving country and there's really relatively few issues with that. So, going based off what I was saying in the counter argument, I would say sexual democracy hinders society because it serves to disqualify Muslim immigrants on the basis of countries saying that they are homophobic rather than acknowledging their own country's xenophobia towards them. For a while, the sexual class of civilizations remained an international rhetoric. In the post 9/11 world, the instrumentalization of sexual politics against immigrants has now become a European reality. So we kind of see this. It's not really fully being used for what it's meant to. Countries are not really trying to accept everyone into their country and be a tolerant society. They're using it and nitpicking it in ways that kind of help their case and not using it in ways that don't. So, for example, we see this in an article that we read by Eric Facine, National Identities and Transnational Intimacies. And the quote is, "Sexual democracy that extends to abortion rights may be the price that many conservatives are willing to pay to provide a modern justification to anti-immigration politics that could otherwise appear as reactionary xenophobia." So we're seeing that this sexual democracy is not really true as it's meant to be and as it should be, sadly. And so, to conclude, why is sexual democracy important? It's kind of just been in our culture, like the rights of women and same-sex relations and gay marriage rights. And there's a lot of disagreement about these questions regarding abortion, pornography, and gay marriages. There are a lot of countries that don't accept it. However, I would argue, as overall that sexual democracy should not be the basis for citizenship, because it's really being used against certain people trying to immigrate into the country, particularly Muslims, and they're not being a fully tolerant society. So they're kind of using it as a lens to hide behind against xenophobia. So our youth societies can live without full sexual democracy.